So I'm gauging the seat of all 16 SEC football coaches going into the 2025 season. Who's on the hot seat? Whose seat is cold as ice? We're going to find out. We're going to go through this today on this video, starting with Sam Pittman with Arkansas, because we're going alphabetically by team. Sam Pittman entering his 6th season with the Razorbacks. He's went 30-31, 14-28 in the conference. Has had a little bit of toughness, let's just say. He's lost some games that they probably should have won. They've had some unlucky breaks here and there. Pittman, just a really great guy. I mean, he's a great coach. I like to say God created Sam Pittman to coach at a place like Arkansas. But nevertheless, things like that don't always equal out to wins. I've went back and forth on this, but I have to put his seat at moderately warm. And I think, honestly, if there is a push to fire him, I think they'll just let him retire. That way he can go out, with some dignity there. Nevertheless, that's Sam Pittman, moderately warm seat going into 2025. So we move on to one that's a little bit more tricky here. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. And, he's just had 1 year under his belt, replacing Nick Saban, the great Nick Saban. He went 9-4. 5-3 in the conference, and they lost in the bowl game to Michigan. But we're not going to count that against him here. So these are tough shoes to fill. Nobody's going against that. Everybody knows that whoever was unfortunate enough to take the Alabama job from Nick Saban, it was going to be a tough row to hoe. And, honestly, people at Alabama, fans and such, are panicking, and I guess they should, because the standard is so high, down there in Tuscaloosa. But just because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put his seat at mild. And you may think, well, bro, he's only had 1 season. Well, the expectations, like I said, are so high at Alabama that Nick Saban himself could end up, with a mild hot seat, or with a mild seat, I should say. They make the playoff this year. They win enough games, at least 9 games this season, 10 games, I think will be fine. But for now, mild, it's okay. No rush, his job isn't in jeopardy this year. The nature of the program, that's where he is. So we move on to a fun one here. Hugh Freeze at Auburn, 3rd season going into 11-14, 5-11 in SEC play. I'm not going to talk about all those off the field things, all those the memes and such out there. I'm going to try to do the best I can when I'm talking about Hugh Freeze, just to talk about the things specifically, just what's going on the field and recruiting and things like that. So he's had a couple of top 10 recruiting classes, both in 2024 and this most recent recruiting class. And that's all good. He's got Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma. Oh boy, we'll see how that goes. That's all I'm going to say about that. What does Hugh have to do? I think you know where I'm about to go with this. What does he have to do? He's got to start winning meaningful games. On the flip side, don't lose games that he shouldn't lose. You got to be consistent. You got to give confidence, give confidence to the fans that you know how to lead your program, the program that they devote their money to, and NIL, that they spend money with tickets and, all these things. You've got to prove that you're worthy of that position there, Hugh. Hugh Freeze, your seat's on fire, buddy. The odds are 7.5 wins this upcoming season. If you win 8 games, I think you keep your job another year. Throw in a big win there. That's a plus. But for now, your seat's on fire. If you do anything equal or less than you did last season, there's a good chance they're getting rid of you, buddy. And I hate to see that for you. And I hope things really turn around for Hugh Freeze, because I don't hate the guy. I really like Hugh Freeze. We move on to Billy Napier, and this one's tricky as well. Billy Napier, this is a guy that last year a lot of people thought he was going to be out of a job, and I never believed that. I said this time last year going into the 2024 season that they were not going to fire Billy Napier, even if he had a losing record, a losing season. I thought Scott Strickland there at Florida was going to give him another chance, because quite frankly, his job was just as much in jeopardy as Napier's, and I still believe that to be true this year, although I think Unfortunately, that you have to do what you have to do, and I'm going to go ahead and put Billy Napier on the moderately warm seat. Here's the thing that I've noticed in this Florida program, and look, they can recruit. Florida's a name; they have no problem doing that. Whoever the coach is, the disciplinary issues in the program, mental mistakes, mental errors, these little things that have caused them to lose football games, have caused them, to be strained because penalties and all those things like that. You got to get rid of that. You got to get control of your team. Also, you got to win some big games. They did that last year. They beat Ole Miss and took Ole Miss out of the playoff contention. Win big games like that. Make sure that your team, your locker room, all those things are in check, that everybody's disciplined, everybody's on the same page. And I think he's going to be fine. But any funny business, failing to meet any expectation, then he may be out of there this year. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not going to be fired. Like I said last year, who knows? But moderately warm is where he's at currently. So as we're moving right along, we've got Kirby Smart, and this is like one of the easiest ones on this list, probably actually the easiest one, entering his 10th season. What does this say here? 105-19, 62-11 in conference play. He's continuing to build a dynasty. They lost a couple games last year that maybe they thought they shouldn't have, but they won the SEC. So it's like one of these things you weigh your options. We lost some games that we thought we shouldn't have lost, but we won the SEC, made it to the playoff, got the first round bye, all those things. There's no question, cold as ice. So we move on to Mark Stoops at Kentucky. Now this guy here, he's entering his 13th season. He's had a long tenure with the Wildcats, and I think he's loved by the fans. They apparently like him. They've kept him around. I don't always want to lead with these kind of things, but he has a $37.5 million buyout. That's going to alter my decision making here, where I'm going to put him on this list, on this gauge. Okay, we saw with Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M that it's not always about how big the buyout is. Okay, they're going to be paying Jimbo for a long time. He's had a lot of ups and downs, and they didn't have a great team. They did beat Ole Miss. They caught Ole Miss off guard last year. We just need to see more out of him. And really, this is one of the toughest ones, honestly, because I don't know if its seat's on fire or if it's mild because of that buyout. But I think I'm just going to put him right as moderately warm. I don't want to say mild and make it seem like nothing's wrong, that anything can happen and his job isn't in jeopardy. But I also don't want to say that his seat's on fire, because I think they'd be kind of hesitant to go ahead and pay $37.5 million when you've got the revenue sharing and all those things. So, well, this is where it stands currently. Stay tuned for the next part where we continue this list of all the SEC coaches as we gauge the seat temperature going into the 2025 college football season. Stay tuned for the next one.